Hi, good afternoon. I think today is very low attendance.
Yeah.
Maybe holidays before holidays. Yeah. No. Should we continue or drop off?
Uh, I mean, if it's not going to be productive, then, we can drop.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Happy holidays. Maybe it's already 2:10 close to. Yeah.
Yeah, same. Likewise. I'll turn on my videos. Happy holidays for everybody. Oh, like more people are coming.
Okay. We're about to drop. Yeah. Think I know Drew and myself some internal meeting we are late and should we continue? I think low attendance today or should we?
Drew, you're muted, or your audio is misselected.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. So, yeah, we had intended to cancel, so I thought you guys should sent that out. So I'm sorry. So the CPAL document, I did a bunch of work in it this week.
I saw that you made a new document.
Yeah, because the previous document was in Google's uh, corporate thing, because Jixon created it. But
Ah,
OCP, we're supposed to use the OCP
yeah.
Google Drive. Now that way OCP can has the ownership and controls the doc, right?
Yep.
So that's what I just did it. I just moved. I made a new doc in the OCP folder based on Jixon's doc. So, and then edited the doc.
Perfect.
So
So
yeah,
Yogesh already sent cancellation email. I didn't maybe I didn't go through all my email.
I thought he did, but I don't know. But
He
anyway,
might. Yeah, he might have. I I might not have seen it.
Um, but I guess I welcome feedback on the CPAL doc, and I filled out a lot of details that I've been showing you. I've been showing you some Microsoft internal versions of the doc, and I cut and paste and I had to redraw the pictures in Google, but that
Yeah.
way it's in the OCP stuff. So and that's fine, whatever. But anyway, yeah, I welcome feedback, and I fleshed the ideas out a lot more. I'm showing time series analysis and how that works. And the other thing I'm pushing in other forums is there's really no reason to separate corrected errors, uncorrected errors, crash dumps, and debug dumps into different streams. Because let's say that I have a CPU that is misbehaving. Um, it's very likely that um, prior errors that CPU saw could be involved in the problem I'm having. So by
Yes.
putting everything in CPERS, I can say I got a crash dump. The crash dump says something horrible's happened. I better call the supplier, and then they'll set up a debug situation and do debug dumps. Well, if now they give me a firmware that unlocks the chip and we reproduce it and get a debug dump, but my infrastructure is just collecting all the CPERS. Now I say, well, give me all the error logs for this machine, and I might see a corrected error, an uncorrected error, a crash dump, and a debug dump that are all related to the same problem, and
Yeah.
that maximizes the odds of the vendor, the supplier, helping us understand the problem. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I used to take a picture, I used to show a picture on my RAS presentation that basically showed something like that, where it was about intermittent failures versus persistent failures, you know, temporal problems, failures, and things like this. And yeah, so until you have to collect all of them to be able to build a reasonable history. So
yeah, yeah.
you might gain the context if you have all of them.
Well, and for most of the errors, we want them analyzed. So if it's a corrected error, we want to look at them over time and figure out what the pattern means. If it's an uncorrected error, we want to figure out what fruit to replace or what RAS action to take. Same with crash dumps. If it's a debug dump, I don't imagine anyone's gonna, it's just like it's JTAG scan or it's a trace log from an internal logic analyzer. What I would expect the analyzer to do is just go, hey, I got a debug dump. I don't know how to look at it, but you send it to your supplier. They'll make sense of it for you.
Pass it upstream. Yep.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think generally we and debug dumps are funny and they have more security implications. So we generally won't use them in production unless we have some sort of quarantined machines with a special agreement from the end users that we can, debug on their machine. So there'll be a lot of implications that and that's being sorted out elsewhere in OCP. But for us, in terms of analyzers, I'm saying send it all through one pipe. The analyzer should know what it's got. It doesn't always know what to do with it, but at least it knows what it has and can tell us, go call, the vendor. They'll help. So
Agreed.
awesome. Okay, well that's that. So I'll keep working on that doc, but I think we'll be out next week for the holidays, and I think the week after I'll be back just that Friday. So I don't know that I'll get too far between now and then, but I might work on this a little. But if anyone has comments on the CPAL proposal, that would be awesome.
Okay, I will add some comments.
Sounds good. Hey, Clint, it's really good to see you.
Good to see you.
Clint and I were co-conspirators on a lot of projects at Google. So
Uh,
he's awesome. If we can get his help, we're in good shape.
well, maybe he can be the counterpoise because I'm always giving you a hard time. So
I can take it though. Well, I mean, like that's fine. My ideas are half baked and wild, and I want the pushback because it'll be the right idea. So
that's right. Yeah.
and so cool. I appreciate your comments last week, and we're going to ramp. And the other thing it does is the more people ask questions, the more areas where we realize that we have blind spots, and we can
Right.
document those. And so so cool. Some of the questions you asked, I tried to incorporate into the doc. So take a look and see if it explained it, and if it didn't, we'll fix it.
Excellent. Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And I'll paste the link to the CPAL proposal here so that uh, folks get it. And like I said, all I did was move it over, from Jixon's doc to an OCP doc, and then um, added a bunch of stuff about analysis. So here's the doc. Um, you know, if anyone asks for access, I'll give it to them. And I think you already have it, Clint. Let me make sure. I don't know if you do or not, but you do now.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, I didn't have access probably because it's just the new one and I've been out for a while.
Okay, well you do now. I remember your email address.
Oh
So,
yeah, you updated the pictures. All right, cool.
yeah, yeah,
Alrighty.
and then other thing I tried to put in there is the another thing that's really confusing to people is chipset to Fru ID translations, and so we need to kind of agree on whose responsibility that is. And the answer is it depends. If I make a custom chip inside Microsoft, then it's our problem because we own the chipset, we own the labeling of the machine. If I buy a processor from Intel, then Intel will have to tell me the chipset ID because that's what it sees internally. That's what the CPRs reference. And you might be able to put the Fru ID in the chip, and then the Fru's identity gets translated by the chip itself. But if you don't, then if Microsoft builds a machine with an Intel processor, we have to do the translation because Microsoft labeled the machine and Intel didn't. But then if I buy an HP machine, HP will get an Intel processor perhaps or something else, but they label the machine. So it's really whoever labels the machine has to do the translation.
I think there's utility here for another domain, and that's the one popular topic in security is bill of materials. And so this would help a queryable that you can you could confirm the bill of materials, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and at least who owns them. Yeah.
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 Yeah,
And
it's part of the whole root of trust stuff that's been developing and I think
well,
2.0.
Because
Calyptra's
when I
cut.
think of bill of materials, I think, okay, we build reliability models using bill of materials all the time, but it's like, okay, we got a bunch of 803 capacitors and a voltage regulator and a memory chip, and we just kind of sum the fit rates up in a big table, and here's our reliability model.
Well, this is how you build new fit rates, right? Is that you get things like CPU chipset IDs and things like that, and you're able to build those fit rates.
Oh, you measure them. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we predict them based on what
Yeah,
the fab says the fit rate is for each gate, and then you
right.
sum the number of gates and
Yeah,
get an overall fit rate, and then you have to derate it
yeah,
for altitude and longitude, and
yeah.
then you say, is my guess right? And it's kind of a guess, and yeah, and so I agree, and if we can, I see. So when you say bill of materials, you're not talking about how many 803 capacitors we have. You're saying what silicon do we have and how
Right.
much error are we getting from the silicon?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, when I say dashboards, that's usually what I mean is people will dashboard that, and the dashboard will show a graph of the failure rate, over time for the part, and you'll see a firmware rollout, and the failure rate hopefully goes down
Oh,
after the firmware update. Sometimes it doesn't.
Well,
Uh,
goes up. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it goes up. Sometimes you roll out a new OS, the failure rate changes, and so sometimes it's a hardware factor, sometimes it's a software factor, and so the failure rates by themselves are tricky because the software can stimulate them. But I think the one way we can isolate that is in our CPERs, if at least the crashes capture the firmware version or the microcode versions, then that shows, okay, the microcode changed suddenly and the fit rate changed. I can sort CPERs versus microcode and firmware versions.
So my experience is a lot of organizations take that data and then they post-process it, right? So
Yeah,
they'll actually filter out all of the, just the noise and everything like that and come down to what seems like a reasonable cause and effect, relationship between
yeah.
things.
Yeah,
So
and that's kind of like what I call global analysis, where you're looking at trends across the fleet. And so, the analysis we're talking here is specifically per machine and how do you
yeah.
fix a broken machine. But we need both. I think you're absolutely right that CPALs and the decoded CPERs will enable that global analysis as well. And that's where I say, hey, Walmart, Exxon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, if we all capture the same CPERs and send them all to our silicon suppliers, the silicon suppliers will have a far better chance at figuring out what's going on, because in order to find a 5-fit failure, that's 5 failures in a billion hours. Guess what you need to find that?
Right.
You need a billion operational hours, many billions to really say, okay, I understand this failure rate and what's causing it. And the only way you get that is you have a hyperscaler that has millions of machines, or you standardize it and enable the silicon supplier to define what they're capturing, and then all of their customers can send them data, and that'll really ramp their understanding up. And
Hmm.
my attitude is, let's get the silicon healthy. I think that we're entering an era where the feature sizes are just decreasing. There are new failure modes. SDC is becoming a more difficult challenge because of some things happening in silicon. And so, this approach is coming just in time to help us as a world community dive into this problem and make sure that our silicon suppliers stay healthy.
Oh yeah, laws of physics are introducing new problems, new problem
Absolutely.
spaces.
Yeah. 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 So this is like kind of a pivotal time. I mean, we're in the right place at the right time, doing something that I think our silicon suppliers need.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I didn't really have much else besides that, but it's always fun to see you all. I like this. This is my favorite meeting of the week. So
Good.
awesome. Okay. Well, have a great holiday.
Yep. Everyone have a happy holiday. Appreciate everyone's hard work.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for coming. And Clint, we need to find a time to get together. I'll be in North Carolina until January, but maybe when we get back, I'd love to catch up with you.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll also be on the East Coast.
Oh, awesome. I may be near you. We're going to go to DC part of the time we're there. So we'll be driving through Virginia. But anyway, cool.
All right.
Okay,
Happy
thanks
holidays.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
See ya.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.